Welcome to Wake Up with AI, the podcast where human-powered meets AI-assisted. Join your hosts, Chris Carolan, Niko Lafakis, and George B. Thomas, as we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence. From the latest AI news to cutting-edge tools and skill sets, we are here to help business owners, marketers, and everyday individuals unlock their full potential with the power of AI. Let's get started.
Good morning, humans. It's time to wake up with AI with George B. Thomas and Niko Lafakis. It is November 20th, 2024, Wednesday, 1 week away from Thanksgiving already, fellas. How you doing today?
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Chris, how are you doing today? We never asked that, by the way. How the heck are
This
you
is the
doing
second
today?
time in maybe 30
Okay.
episodes, so
There
I
we go. There
appreciate
we go.
that. I'm doing well, like everybody else. Man, the year is close to the end. So much has happened, probably in large part thanks to AI. So, yeah, trying to keep up, but also enjoying the ride, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
I too am enjoying the ride. Niko, how about you, brother?
Likewise, loving it. Got some really cool updates for this week. I think this past week has been like just my next level, like the next step in what I'm doing with AI. So I'm really excited.
Let's dive in then. What do you got today, man?
Well, first and foremost, I have to apologize too because I kind of didn't notice it until George brought it up that like we never do pat back, and
All good.
it's such like an
All good.
automatic thing. Um, so today, I thought since yesterday was such a enlightening day, I thought today I would I would give you guys an illustration of what a day in my life is like when I have to look across the spectrum and try to assess who is at what level and why certain people are talking and being heard. So the context for this, yesterday we were talking about just how advanced things are getting. And I mean, we were listening to clips from Mocha and who was talking about this stuff. This was just an interview that came out like 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. And so it's, hot off the press, you could call it. And the advancements that he talked about, obviously were crazy to even think about, right? Like having 400 level IQ within months. So, and so just to highlight a couple things there, 400 level IQ in a couple months or in a few months. If a human had that type of capability, it would be something like being able to just out of nowhere use nanomachines to create an iPhone. The fact that, it will likely be the case that AI ends up having even greater emotional context and greater emotional understanding than we do, in the same way that we have greater emotional context and understanding than animals, simply just due to a barrier of intelligence and interaction. And then the aspect of creativity, of course, right? And being able to eventually become truly creative, understand abstract reasoning and rationale, and using that in order to extrapolate and create new things. Contrast that against a recent little blurb put out there by none other than Mr. Batfleck, Mr. Ben Affleck. I was dismayed, to say the least, at this comment. It's a clip. It's about it's about 3 minutes long. Would like to play it because it's just funny given what we were talking about yesterday. I think it's hilarious. So just for a little bit of context to this and why I thought this was cool, and then I want to get your guys' take on this for sure.
I want to, as we kind of wrap up here, I do want to come back to AI. Jerry, you mentioned it, but Ben, how did earlier? You guys weren't here. We did a demonstration. My colleague Andrew Sorkin and I recreated ourselves and our voices How do you see it? I mean, is it a benefit or is it a real threat? Is it possible that a Netflix could say, we're going to do our own, James Bond thing out there with a bunch of actors that are completely recreated for this market or that market?
A, that's not possible now. B, will it be possible in the future? Highly unlikely. C, movies that will be one of the last things, if everything gets replaced, to be replaced by AI. AI can write you excellent imitative verse that sounds Elizabethan. It cannot write you Shakespeare. The function of having 2 actors or 3 or 4 actors in a room and the taste to discern and construct that is something that currently entirely eludes AI's capability, and I think will for a meaningful period of time. What AI is going to do is going to disintermediate the more laborious, less creative, and more costly aspects of filmmaking that will allow costs to be brought down, that will lower the barrier to entry, that will allow more voices to be heard, that will make it easier for the people who want to make Good Will Huntings to go out and make it. Look, AI is a craftsman. At best, craftsmen can learn to, make stickly furniture by sitting down next to somebody and seeing what their technique is and imitating. That's how large video models, large language models, basically work. A library of vectors of meaning and transformers that interpret it in context, right? But they're just cross-pollinating things that exist. Nothing new is created.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. And really, in order to do that, look, craftsman is knowing how to work. Art is knowing when to stop. And I think knowing when to stop is going to be a very difficult thing for AI to learn because it's taste. And also lack of consistency, lack of controls, lack of quality. AI for this world of generative video is going to do key things more. I wouldn't like to be in the visual effects business. They're in trouble because what costs a lot of money is now going to cost a lot less. And it's going to hammer that space, and it already is. And maybe it shouldn't take 1,000 people to render something, but it's not going to replace human beings making films. It may make your background more convincing. It can change the color of your shirt. It can fix mistakes that you've made. It can make it, you might be able to get 2 seasons of House of the Dragon in a year instead of 1. And if that happens, according to macroeconomics, in, cultures where there are basically oligopolies competing, what should happen is with the same demand and the same spend is they should just make more shows, which should, you should have the same spend and now you can just watch more episodes. And eventually AI will allow you to ask for your own episode of Succession, where you could say, I'll pay $30 and can you make me a 45-minute episode where like Kendall gets the company and runs off and has an affair with Stewie. And it'll do it. And it'll be a little janky and a little bit weird, but it'll know their stats, it'll know those actors, and it will, remix it in effect, right. And it will do that. That's the value, in my view, long-term of AI for consumers, which is eventually my hope for AI is that it's an additional revenue stream that can replace DVD, which took 15 to 20% out of the economy of filmmaking, which is, and there should be negotiated rights and residual rights to say, if you want to, because what do people want to make 5-minute, 30-second TikTok videos where they look like the Avengers? Well, great. You can, just like you used to be able to buy your Iron Man costume at the store, you're going to buy your Iron Man pack and you and your buddies are going to look like Iron Man and Hawkeye, like, on Twitch. That's what's going to really happen.
So like as a long time from now, like a year?
That's why I wanted to bring this up with you guys, because that's where my head is at, right? So like I get to wake up to that for whatever reason being like YouTube AI headline news. I mean, on like 5 of the channels, right? So it's like I got to ignore it because of the fact in almost every case, they're all like actually commending Affleck for knowing, like like having some technical savvy, and in every single case, I'm just like, but he's wrong.
Well, sort of, right? You have to remember that it's funny because there's a couple of things that I want to talk about in this clip. Less about AI, more about humans, to be honest with you. Like when the clip first started, if you roll back, if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, if you roll back, Ben fundamentally looks pissed. Like the facial micro expressions, that he's even there to have this conversation. He looks uneasy or frustrated. Okay, so just go back and look at that. The other thing is he rattles it off so fast that my immediate like BS meter was this has been practiced. This is not an off the cuff answer. There are no ums, no ahs, no pause to thinking. It's like this Shakespearean narrative that was created to be in that moment with those humans. And so then I'm like, well, like that doesn't feel real authentic to me. And while it sounds smart to most, like if you've been waking up with AI, you're like, wait a minute, dude. Like a week ago, we talked about a platform that could revolutionize anything related to like cartoon or Pixar or like, and if you think a while back, we talked about things where you can actually like make yourself be like you, and we've even talked about like imagine being with like Grandpa George or Grandpa Chris or Grandpa Niko. They're long gone, but you have the version. This stuff is right around the corner. So if a long time from now is like a year, and if by craftsman he means master craftsman, well, then maybe. Okay. Which, by the way, Ben, if you're watching this, I love you. I love your acting. I have to agree with Niko on this one. Like, I don't like that. It doesn't pass the GBT sniff test.
Well, I think it's important to understand that it exists, though, because just like Niko is seeing it on the feed, some people are waking up to that clip, and that has started to guide. And the reason it makes headlines is because there's an audience related to Ben Affleck, versus our show, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So putting him out there is going to get more views, and like the whole dynamic is so interesting to me, but I think it's important for us not to ignore it for sure, because we often have to deconstruct and maybe we have to manage that while we're trying to educate people and know that they might have seen that and that might have shaped some of their thoughts. And there's so many things like that happening right now in terms of, I don't want to say misinformation all the time, but as far as like the rehearsed nature of it, I'm sure like Screen Actors Guild and whatever communities are supporting actors are like, hey, you're about to get asked about AI in every single interview you do. Here's some talking points, right?
Yeah.
Now, it would be nice if that question wasn't always about replacement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And instead
Yep.
was framed as, how is AI going to help? Because the whole second half of his answer was fabulous. Like,
Right.
yes, the
Yeah.
speed to creating like the 2 seasons instead of 1. Like, how is it going to, like, if you keep everybody the same instead of worrying about replacing them, now we're just creating more awesome stuff. And
Right.
if we can just focus on that instead of the other thing.
Here's the other part, though. Let's go back to the human part for a second. Because, by the way, we probably suck at this too. Us, meaning Chris, Niko, George. We probably suck at this too. But this to me is a fundamental case of like, oh, I can see how your shit's going to get jacked up, but not mine. Because he literally was like, yeah, by the way, if you're in visual effects, sorry. Like, and I'm like, whoa, bro, easy. Like, that's somebody's livelihood. But, like,
Right.
you're feeling the way you're feeling because the question was about your livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there was fundamentally almost a disconnect of, like, what he threw at the audience versus what was thrown at him and the way that he... Anyway.
See, like this is the one, and anybody who's out there that was, was wondering, this is the one place, not this one, but any of them, realistically. If you come to me and you ask me, and you say, hey, what about like AI disruption in RevOps or in CRM or marketing in general, I'll tell you about AI disruption all over the place. I'll tell you what it's going to do to my job. I'll tell you what it's going to do to any other type of marketing person's job.
Yep.
I have no problem talking about what the capabilities of this technology is. Why? So that you understand what's coming. 2 years ago, I talked about the fact that with this technology being just present and being in existence, one of the most important skills that was going to first be developed, or first have to be developed by people, is creativity. Because you have to be able to think about, how am I going to leverage this? We're just talking about it. Like, even Affleck's talking about it. Anybody who's worked with these tools talks about it. How do I leverage this? How am I going to empower myself with this? What is it that I'm going to do? Combined, so it's that, creative thinking combined with critical thinking. So it's not just like, how am I going to leverage it, but what can I do, and how impactful can it be? How can I contribute? And in what way can I use this to contribute to the rest of what everybody is doing, to what it is that I'm doing, to what it is the organization's doing? Right. But the minutia, like, this is the hardest part for most people to grasp. I understand why. Because we spend so much time doing it. Because we spend so much time doing tasks and minutia and that kind of stuff, we feel that stuff is super important. Because, because it equates to how much time we spend doing it. Just because that's going away isn't a bad thing. Like Affleck talked about, we will replace it. We will fill that time with more content, with more whatever. Now, that was the only place in which I took pause, because it's like, if anybody else out there is like me, I don't have enough time. I watch videos at quarter plus or half plus, which means like 1.25 or 1.5, depending on how slow the person's talking. I don't really, like, at this point, I'm not really sure what a regular speed video sounds like with somebody talking. It would probably bore me to death as much as trying to read a book. Okay. I still can't consume as much as I want to in a day. I'm still like 10 hours short daily, which means at this point, I'm like thousands of hours short on video I should have watched and consumed to be able to get what that information was.
But if I think that I know you a little bit, it's because you're right now living in a world where education trumps entertainment. So you're literally trying to drink from a fire hose of education. See, Ben isn't talking about that human, Niko.
But that's the thing, is if I'm spending all my time on that,
yeah, but he's talking about
I don't have the time to binge.
Sitting on the couch with like some chocolate chip cookies that just got off of their XYZ whatever job, and they're like, I don't like life. I don't like my job, and I want to escape. So if I can watch 17 episodes instead of 12, then wee. Now, here's the thing. I, too, was like that. At that part, I was like, please, by all that is holy, do not give me another season. I'm already having a hard enough time bridging the gap of entertainment and education and trying to at least give myself some outlet. But if you start to force it down my throat, I'm like, I'm afraid I'm just going to back away and go back into my educational cave and like leave entertainment alone for a while again. But like, I don't know if the world needs more of that. I know it needs more of something, but it needs more. I don't know if it needs another season or another 17 episodes. Here's the thing. What's funny is this kind of ties in to the skill that pays the bills that I wanted to talk about today. Because what is theater? What is acting? What is any of the things that Ben might do? Well, it's content creation, right? And we create content in a way many times that is in our beliefs. Listen, let's just talk about that clip that you played. That might not have been the most inclusive clip possible, because there's a couple places where people you took pause. I took pause. There's probably other people that are taking pause. And so the skill that pays the bill today that I want to pay attention to is AI-driven inclusive content creation. Listen, in today's world, making sure that your content, especially as marketers, sales, business owners, resonates across diverse audiences, it's not just a nice to have, it's an essential part of how you need to show up as a business, how you need to show up to the world. And AI is a powerful tool to help ensure that language, visuals, messaging connect with people from all backgrounds and all perspectives, which I don't know if that clip of Ben did. Sorry, Ben, again, love you. But imagine you're launching a campaign with great visuals and compelling copy. You're confident, but you're not sure. Will it resonate with every audience that you're trying to put it out to? That's where AI comes in. AI tools can analyze your content, flagging language that might unintentionally exclude or visuals that might lack diversity. It's all about catching these blind spots early on in the process of building this campaign before you get it launched to the world and maybe end up with egg on your face. You see, AI helps create content that's not just appealing, but truly inclusive. By analyzing your language and your imagery, AI suggests more accessible phrasing, identifies areas needing better representation, and helps ensure your message lands well with everyone, or at least more of the people that you want it to land with. Think of it as having built-in diversity editor, enhancing your creative vision to make sure your work reflects empathy and inclusion. So let's hit the highlights. AI tools scan language, visuals, and messaging to make sure your content is accessible and respectful to all demographics. In other words, to all the humans. With the AI recommendations, you can fine-tune your language and visuals to avoid unintentional bias, ensuring everyone feels respected. And AI-driven inclusivity helps your message resonate with a wider audience, build stronger connections, which we all should be doing. That's what the world needs more of. And expanding your reach. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's today's AI skill that pays the bills.
Yes. And if you're interested in seeing George share his breakdown of how he does all the things he just said, let us know in the comments. We're brewing some stuff, including our next customer platform hug on December 11th. I think I bring that in because in this ecosystem specifically, some stuff has happened, recently to deliver a bunch of new AI tools. And, like everybody else in the beginning, there's a bunch of recaps of like, oh, this is what it is. This is how you're going to use it, right? I'm excited that for lots of reasons, we have not had that episode because it's given us time to actually use the tools and learn about what they do and how impactful they can be. And now, like, hopefully impart some different learnings, to the community, because so much of what George just said about, like, this whole, everybody knows about the right message to the right person at the right time, right? And that's always been the challenge of how you do that. That challenge has never been easier, and it's only going to get easier with all of these tools that you have available. But back to what Ben started with, like whenever Ben Affleck, that is in the clip, whenever we start with AI can and can't, like please understand, 98% of that is based on their experiences from them using it or other humans around them using it. And the outcomes are entirely based on how the human being is using the tool. Not at all about what AI is capable of, right? Because, like, the most fun times for me is kind of breaking it out of that. Like, no, I know you're paying attention to some, like, human-based weaknesses here. Like, what if you didn't have humans? What is the AI capabilities actually? What's possible, right? And to watch it go into that is exciting. But just like, I mean, that's, as I talk to people, I definitely kind of try to put that in perspective. It's still a tool right now. That's why the learning curve is so important. Like, understand how to use the tool and you will get outcomes that will blow your mind on a daily basis. How much fun would that be?
And
how much fun are you having right now, George?
Tons of, man, I'm having tons of fun. Like, I wish there are days I wish that I had somebody who could just follow me around with a camera all day. Oh, like old school Gary Vee. People have no clue. People have no clue what my life looks like, what I'm doing, the rate in which I'm able to do it, because every morning I'm waking up with AI. Every morning I'm trying to, like, be the master that is the student. And anyway, I'm having a ton of fun, brother.
Yeah, and we're gonna start sharing that in lots of different ways. What else we got today, Niko? What else is on your mind? I did notice, I'll say, and maybe this is something we can end on, like that kind of a protective response, that defensive response that we've seen from Ben Affleck and others is definitely one approach to kind of maybe sharing information in negative ways. But another so a conversation I had yesterday is the money and the energy challenges related to AI, and like OpenAI is operating on a huge loss. How could that possibly persist? When is the bubble going to burst? Like, how do you think about that when that part of the like this whole limitations like conversation, right, at that level? What are you seeing about that?
I've kind of been telling my brother the same thing because he's been coming from that same angle in terms of like, yeah, but how are you going to deal with infrastructure problems? How are you going to deal with energy? How are you going to deal with water? Because water is also, like it was considered in the beginning, people kind of forgot about it because, you compare, a couple GPT prompts to the shower that you take in the morning, and all of a sudden you start to realize like using GPT ain't that big a deal. So yeah, that's not to say that it's not a resource issue. It is. So, I do think about it, but then I also think about the fact that this technology is, again, self-depreciating. So over time, software development costs already are dropping through the floor, right? So the systems themselves are, like, if you watch the tokenization rates, the cost is coming down dramatically. The cost on tokens per prompt or whatever, per million tokens on GPT-3 versus GPT-4o. I'm not sure what O1 Preview is, but I'm sure O1 Preview is probably 30% cheaper than 4o was. So the resources needed, I believe, the question keeps sort of dying down because I'm assuming that and it is a large assumption to make, that the efficiency of the applications and the efficiency of the use is getting better at this point, is like coupling with the problem of, training. So in other words, if O1 or Strawberry can stay where it is power consumption wise while changing test time training to increase its capability, then we're already getting over one energy hump, right, of not having to increase in order to get increased performance. And then we can kind of I imagine we reverse engineer from there and figure out like, okay, well, maybe there's another knob or lever or something programmatically that we can play with that will also like help propel things forward without having to increase energy consumption. So even currently, while those energy consumption debates are going on, they're still making forward progress. Right. I don't see this technology as ever not being evolutionary in its own like capacity.
You mean almost like us? Like when we wake up every day and we evolve into the next thing because we learn and we iterate and we optimize, at least if that's like the type of human you are. I mean, because every day you got to wake up. And I guess it's your choice if you wake up with AI.
That's a wrap for this episode of Wake Up with AI. We hope that you feel a little more inspired, a little more informed, and a whole lot more excited about how AI can augment your life and business. Always remember that this journey is just the beginning and that we are right here with you every step of the way. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. You can also connect with us on social media to stay updated with all things AI. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and wake up with AI.